Imagine a manuscript so cryptic that for centuries, it has baffled historians, cryptographers, and scholars alike. Known only as the Voynich Manuscript, this enigmatic book has defied every attempt to decipher its mysterious text and illustrations. What secrets lie hidden within its pages? Could it be a forgotten language, a sophisticated hoax, or something even more extraordinary? Join us as we delve into the captivating world of the Voynich Manuscript. We'll explore the most intriguing theories, from ancient codes to modern interpretations, and uncover the stories of those who have tried to solve its riddle. Prepare to embark on a journey into one of history's most enduring mysteries, where every page turned brings us closer to understanding, or further into the unknown. Stay tuned, as we unravel the enigma of the Voynich Manuscript like never before. The Voynich Manuscript is one of history's most enigmatic artifacts, a mysterious illustrated codex, handwritten in an unknown script now referred to as Voynichese. Carbon dating has placed the vellum on which it was composed in the early 15th century, somewhere between 1404 and 1438. Despite this, the manuscript's origins remain shrouded in mystery. Stylistic analyses suggest it may have been crafted in Italy during the vibrant Italian Renaissance. However, the debate over its authorship and purpose is far from settled. Theories abound, ranging from it being a script for a natural or constructed language, a complex cipher, a coded message, or perhaps even an elaborate hoax. Others believe it could be a reference work, a folkloric index, or a work of speculative fiction. Yet, without a translation or contextual understanding, these possibilities remain tantalizingly out of reach. Named after Wilfred Voynich, a Polish book dealer who acquired it in 1912, the manuscript consists of around 240 pages, though evidence suggests some pages are missing. The text is written from left to right, with certain pages featuring foldable sheets of varying sizes. What truly sets this manuscript apart are the fantastical illustrations and diagrams that adorn most pages, images of people, mythical plants, and astrological symbols, some of which are crudely colored. Since 1969, this manuscript has been preserved at Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. In 2020, Yale made the entire manuscript available online, allowing the world to explore its mysteries. What do you think about this? Could the Voynich Manuscript be a lost work of knowledge, or is it an elaborate puzzle designed to confound us? The Voynich Manuscript has captured the attention of both professional and amateur cryptographers alike, including some of the finest American and British codebreakers from World Wars I and II. Despite their efforts, renowned codebreakers like Prescott Currier, William Friedman, Elizabeth Friedman, and John Tiltman all met with failure in their attempts to decipher its text. To this day, the manuscript has never been conclusively decoded, and none of the many hypotheses regarding its content have been independently verified. The mystery surrounding its meaning and origin continues to fuel speculation and scholarly inquiry. Focusing on the manuscript's physical characteristics, or codicology, researchers have meticulously studied its structure. Measuring 23.5 by 16.2 by 5 centimeters, the manuscript contains hundreds of vellum pages grouped into 18 quires. The total number of pages hovers around 240, though this figure can vary depending on how one counts the manuscript's unusual foldouts. The quires are numbered from 1 to 20, with a numeral style consistent with the 15th century, while the top right-hand corner of each recto page is numbered from 1 to 116, using a numeral style from a later period. Gaps in the numbering suggest that the manuscript originally had at least 272 pages and 20 quires, some of which were already missing when Wilfred Voynich first acquired it in 1912. There is compelling evidence that many of the manuscript's bifolios were reordered at various points in its history, leaving us to wonder about its original sequence. Does this hint at a deliberate attempt to obscure its meaning, or were the pages reshuffled over time by those who sought to understand its secrets? Tell me in comment box. In 2009, researchers at the University of Arizona conducted radiocarbon dating on samples from various sections of the Voynich manuscript. The results were consistent across all samples, placing the parchment's creation between 1404 and 1438. This finding, alongside protein testing in 2014, confirmed that the parchment was made from calfskin. Interestingly, multispectral analysis revealed that the parchment had never been written on before, ruling out the possibility that the manuscript is a palimpsest. Despite its average quality, the parchment displays careful preparation, with the skin side nearly indistinguishable from the flesh side. Remarkably, it was made from at least 14 or 15 entire calfskins, showcasing the resources and effort invested in its creation. Some folios, like 42 and 47, stand out for being thicker than the usual parchment, adding another layer of mystery to this already perplexing manuscript. The goat skin binding and covers, however, are not original. These were added during the manuscript's time at the Collegio Romano. Insect holes on the first and last folios, along with discoloration on the edges, suggest that the manuscript once had a wooden cover and a tanned leather inside cover before these later additions were made. What do you think about this meticulous craftsmanship? Could the choice of materials hint at the manuscript's significance or purpose? The ink used in the Voynich manuscript adds another fascinating dimension to its mystery. Many pages feature substantial drawings or charts, often colored with paint. Modern analysis using polarized light microscopy, PLM, determined that a quill pen and iron gall ink were employed for both the text and the figure outlines. Notably, the inks used for the drawings, text, and even the page and quire numbers share similar microscopic characteristics, pointing to their contemporaneous origin. In 2009, Energy Dispersive X-ray Spectroscopy, EDS, revealed that the inks contained significant amounts of carbon, iron, sulfur, potassium, and calcium, with trace amounts of copper and, occasionally, zinc. Interestingly, lead was absent, but X-ray diffraction, XRD, identified compounds like potassium lead oxide, potassium hydrogen sulfate, and syngnite in one of the samples tested. The close similarity between the drawing inks and texting strongly suggests that they were created at the same time, further deepening the enigma of this manuscript. Does the careful choice of ink and materials strengthen the case for the manuscript being an important work, or does it suggest a deliberate effort to create something that defies understanding? The Voynich manuscript's colorful illustrations, despite their crude application, add another layer of intrigue to this mysterious document. These colors, blue, white, red-brown, and green, have been carefully analyzed using various scientific methods, including polarized light microscopy, PLM, X-ray diffraction, XRD, energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy, EDS, and scanning electron microscopy, SEM. The results revealed fascinating details about the pigments used. The blue paint, for instance, was found to be ground azurite, with minor traces of the copper oxide cuprite, suggesting that this vibrant hue came from a widely used mineral in medieval times. The white paint likely consists of a mixture of egg white and calcium carbonate, materials that were both accessible and practical for the time. The green paint, on the other hand, is tentatively characterized by copper and copper chlorine resinate, with the crystalline material potentially being a tachyte or another copper chlorine compound. Lastly, the red-brown paint was identified as red ochre, containing crystal phases of hematite and iron sulfide, with possible traces of lead sulfide and palmyrite. These pigments, despite being relatively inexpensive, were chosen with care. What do you think about the selection of these materials? Could it indicate something more significant about the manuscript's origins or its intended audience? In addition to these color applications, there is evidence that parts of the manuscript have been retouched over time. Computer scientist Jorge Stolfi from the University of Campinas pointed out that darker ink appears to have been applied over a fainter, earlier script in certain sections of the manuscript. This modification is visible in various folios, including F1R, F3V, F26V, F57V, and others. This discovery raises questions about the manuscript's history. Was it revised by its original author or altered by later hands? Every page of the Voynich manuscript contains text, mostly in an unidentified language, but with some extraneous writing in Latin script. The bulk of the 240-page manuscript is written in this mysterious script, which runs left to right. The characters, mostly composed of one or two simple pen strokes, form a script of 20 to 25 characters that account for virtually all of the text. Only a few dozen rarer characters occur just once or twice, and there is no obvious punctuation. Most of the text is arranged in a single column with a slightly ragged right margin, and paragraph divisions are sometimes marked with stars in the left margin. Other sections of text appear in charts or as labels associated with the manuscript's intricate illustrations. The ductus, or flow of the writing, is smooth, giving the impression that the symbols were written without delay, as one might expect in an unenciphered text. Given the smooth flow of the text, do you believe this script represents a natural language, or could it be an elaborate code designed to obscure its true meaning? Interestingly, not all the writing in the manuscript is in this unknown script. A few folios contain words or phrases in Latin script. For example, folio F1R has a sequence of Latin letters in the right margin alongside the unknown script, and the signature of Jacob Jatepanis appears in the bottom margin. Folio F17R contains a line of writing in Latin script at the top margin, while folio F66R includes a few words in the bottom left corner, near a drawing of a nude man, which have been interpreted as the High German phrase der Mustiel, meaning a widow's share. In the astrological section, folios F70V to F73V feature an astrological series of diagrams with the names of 10 months written in Latin script, with spellings suggestive of medieval languages from France, northwest Italy, or the Iberian Peninsula. Finally, folio F116V contains 4 lines of text in distorted Latin script, referred to as Miscetanese, alongside 2 words in the unknown script. This peculiar mix of scripts raises questions about the manuscript's creation and use. Do you think these Latin words were part of the original manuscript, or were they added later by someone attempting to decipher its secrets? In an effort to crack the code of the Voynich Manuscript, various transcription alphabets have been created to equate Voynich characters with Latin characters, aiding in cryptanalysis. The first major attempt was led by cryptographer William F. Friedman in the 1940s. His team transcribed each line of the manuscript onto IBM punch cards to make it machine-readable, laying the groundwork for future studies. What are your thoughts on these transcription efforts? Could modern technology finally unlock the mysteries of this enigmatic manuscript, or is it destined to remain undeciphered? Colored paint was applied, somewhat crudely, to the ink outlined figures, possibly at a later date. The blue, white, red, brown, and green paints of the manuscript have been analyzed using PLM, XRD, EDS, and scanning electron microscopy, SEM. The blue paint proved to be ground azurite with minor traces of the copper oxide cuprite. The white paint is likely a mixture of egg white and calcium carbonate. The green paint is tentatively characterized by copper and copper chlorine resinate. The crystalline material might be a tachyte or some other copper chlorine compound. Analysis of the red-brown paint indicated a red ochre with the crystal phases hematite and iron sulfide. Minor amounts of lead sulfide and palmyrite are possibly present in the red-brown paint. The pigments used were deemed inexpensive. Retouching. Computer scientist Jorge Stolfi of the University of Campinas highlighted that parts of the text and drawings have been modified, using darker ink over a fainter, earlier script. Evidence for this is visible in various folios, for example F1R, F3V, F26V, F57V, F67R2, F71R, F72V1, F72V3 and F73R. Text. Every page in the manuscript contains text, mostly in an unidentified language, but some have extraneous writing in Latin script. The bulk of the text in the 240-page manuscript is written in an unknown script, running left to right. Most of the characters are composed of 1 or 2 simple pen strokes. There exists some dispute as to whether certain characters are distinct, but a script of 20 to 25 characters would account for virtually all of the text. The exceptions are a few dozen rarer characters that occur only once or twice each. There is no obvious punctuation. Much of the text is written in a single column in the body of a page, with a slightly ragged right margin and paragraph divisions and sometimes with stars in the left margin. Other text occurs in charts or as labels associated with illustrations. The ductus flows smoothly, giving the impression that the symbols were not enciphered. There is no delay between characters, as would normally be expected in written encoded text. Extraneous writing. Only a few of the words in the manuscript are thought to have not been written in the unknown script. F1R, a sequence of Latin letters in the right margin parallel with characters from the unknown script, also the now unreadable signature of Jacob Jatepanes, is found in the bottom margin. F17R, a line of writing in the Latin script in the top margin. F66R, a small number of words in the bottom left corner near a drawing of a nude man have been read as der Mustiel, a High German phrase for a widow's share. F70V, F73V, the astrological series of diagrams in the astronomical section has the names of 10 of the months, from March to December, written in Latin script, with spelling suggestive of the medieval languages of France, northwest Italy, or the Iberian Peninsula. F116V, 4 lines written in rather distorted Latin script, referred to as Miscetanese, except for 2 words in the unknown script. The words in Latin script appear to be distorted with characteristics of the unknown language. The lettering resembles European alphabets of the late 14th and 15th centuries, but the words do not seem to make sense in any language. Whether these bits of Latin script were part of the original text or were added later is not known. Transcription. Various transcription alphabets have been created to equate Voynich characters with Latin characters to help with cryptanalysis, such as the extensible, originally European Voynich alphabet, EVA. The first major one was created by the First Study Group, led by cryptographer William F. Friedman in the 1940s, where each line of the manuscript was transcribed to an IBM punch card to make it machine-readable. Statistical patterns. The text consists of over 170,000 characters, with spaces dividing the text into about 35,000 groups of varying length, usually referred to as words or word tokens, 37,919. 8,114 of those words are considered unique word types. The structure of these words seems to follow phonological or orthographic laws of some sort. For example, certain characters must appear in each word, like English vowels. Some characters never follow others, or some may be doubled or tripled, but others may not. The distribution of letters within words is also rather peculiar. Some characters occur only at the beginning of a word, some only at the end, like Greek final sigma, and some always in the middle section. Many researchers have commented upon the highly regular structure of the words. Professor Gonzalo Rubio, an expert in ancient languages at Pennsylvania State University, stated, "The things we know as grammatical markers, things that occur commonly at the beginning or end of words, such as S or D in our language, and that are used to express grammar, never appear in the middle of words in the Voynich manuscript. That's unheard of for any Indo-European, Hungarian, or Finnish language." Stefan von Feld studied statistical properties of the distribution of letters and their correlations, properties which can be vaguely characterized as rhythmic resonance, alliteration, or assonance, and found that under that respect Voynichese is more similar to the Mandarin Chinese pinyin text of the records of the Grand Historian than to the text of works from European languages, although the numerical differences between Voynichese and Mandarin Chinese pinyin look larger than those between Mandarin Chinese pinyin and European languages. Practically no words have fewer than 2 letters or more than 10. Some words occur in only certain sections, or in only a few pages, others occur throughout the manuscript. Few repetitions occur among the 1,000 or so labels attached to the illustrations. There are instances where the same common word appears up to 3 times in a row. Words that differ by only 1 letter also repeat with unusual frequency, causing single substitution alphabet decipherings to yield Babel-like text. In 1962, cryptanalyst Elizabeth Friedman described such statistical analyses as doomed to utter frustration. In 2014, a team led by Diego Amancio of the University of São Paulo published a study using statistical methods to analyze the relationships of the words in the text. Instead of trying to find the meaning, Amancio's team looked for connections and clusters of words. By measuring the frequency and intermittence of words, Amancio claimed to identify the text's keywords and produce three-dimensional models of the text structure and word frequencies. The team concluded that, in 90% of cases, the Voynich systems are similar to those of other known books, indicating that the text is in an actual language, not random gibberish. The use of the framework was exemplified with the analysis of the Voynich Manuscript, with the final conclusion that it differs from a random sequence of words, being compatible with natural languages. Even though our approach is not aimed at deciphering Voynich, it was capable of providing keywords that could be helpful for decipherers in the future. Linguists Claire Bowen and Luke Lindemann have applied statistical methods to the Voynich manuscript, comparing it to other languages and encodings of languages, and have found both similarities and differences in statistical properties. Character sequences in languages are measured using a metric called H2, or second-order conditional entropy. Natural languages tend to have an H2 between 3 and 4, but Voynichese has much more predictable character sequences, and an H2 around 2. However, at higher levels of organization, the Voynich manuscript displays properties similar to those of natural languages. Based on this, Bowen dismisses theories that the manuscript is gibberish. It is likely to be an encoded natural language or a constructed language. Bowen also concludes that the statistical properties of the Voynich manuscript are not consistent with the use of a substitution cipher or polyalphabetic cipher. As noted in Bowen's review, multiple scribes, or hands, may have written the manuscript, possibly using two methods of encoding at least one natural language. The language, Voynich A, appears in the herbal and pharmaceutical parts of the manuscript. The language, known as Voynich B, appears in the balneological section, some parts of the medicinal and herbal sections, and the astrological section. The most common vocabulary items of Voynich A and Voynich B are substantially different. Topic modeling of the manuscript suggests that pages identified as written by a particular scribe may relate to a different topic. In terms of morphology, if visual spaces in the manuscript are assumed to indicate word breaks, there are consistent patterns that suggest a three-part word structure of prefix, root or midfix, and suffix. Certain characters and character combinations are more likely to appear in particular fields. There are minor variations between Voynich A and Voynich B. The predictability of certain letters in a relatively small number of combinations in certain parts of words appears to explain the low entropy, H2, of Voynichese. In the absence of obvious punctuation, some variants of the same word appear to be specific to typographical positions, such as the beginning of a paragraph, line, or sentence. The Voynich word frequencies of both variants appear to conform to a Zipfian distribution, supporting the idea that the text has linguistic meaning. This has implications for the encoding methods most likely to have been used, since some forms of encoding interfere with the Zipfian distribution. Measures of the proportional frequency of the 10 most common words are similar to those of the Semitic, Iranian, and Germanic languages. Another measure of morphological complexity, the moving average type token ratio, MATTR, does not align the text with natural languages in the study, but instead suggests an intermediate, complex system. Studies of word patterns and other statistical patterns show differences in the text between A and B pages, as well as other connections. However, whether this is the result of more than one scribe or a single scribe working in multiple languages or dialects is still under debate. Hand 1 wrote pages from both languages and seems to have provided the only examples of non-Voynichese writing, as well as text in Mishitanese. Hand 2 wrote Voynich B pages in the astrological section and various marginalia. While there may have been more than one scribe writing Voynich A pages, they share patterns that suggest they were working in the same system. Whether multiple scribes used the same encoding system, this scribe used more than one system, or this scribe was adapting a language with multiple dialects is unknown. Interpretations. The manuscript has been studied by many professional and amateur cryptographers, including American and British codebreakers from both World War I and World War II. None have deciphered the text, and it has become a famous case in the history of cryptography. The mystery of its meaning and origin has excited the popular imagination, making it the subject of novels and speculation. The hypotheses generally fall into one of four categories: 1. Ciphertext, 2. Constructed language, 3. Natural language, 4. Hoax. Many people have attempted to decipher the Voynich manuscript, but there is no agreement as to the meaning of its text. The only piece of text that is considered to be understood is the sequence of astronomical diagrams, and even that is only